Okay, Chaf Hey Amid Aleph, we're at the Mishnah. Echad Devarim Shel Atzmai, whether it's a shvua regarding himself, it's depending that he can't do something. The Echad Devarim Shel Acherim, or it's a shvua dependent upon other people. Right? For example, Rashi says, "Kin mefarish she'etein the ploni." I'll give ploni if he does X, does so and so. In other words, the whole shvua is contingent on somebody else. We're learning Nishmas Eliezer ben Abba Ezri. That's Ludwig Wilner of Washington Heights fame. Must have been in the lake house, at least somewhere. Maybe in your table, Dr. Press. No. Ludwig. Anyway, so ve'echad dvarim shel acherim, whether it's things that are contingent upon somebody else, ve'echad dvarim sheish ben mamish, whether there's mamoshes to it, right? Whether there's something to it, in other words, tangibility. Ve'echad dvarim shein ben mamish. Rashi gives an example like the Mishnah in a second. For example, shena, contingent upon sleep. Sleep's not something that has mamoshes, or something like throwing a stone. Throwing a stone it has mamoshes, but it's not. There's no hanot to it. Ketzad. Guys, this is the example of the Devarim Shel Acherim. The Rashi doesn't feel the need to go ahead and explain to you. The Mishnah does not feel the need to explain to you the Devarim Shel Atzmai. That seems to be Dava Pashat. So what's the Devarim? Echad Shem Mamish, Devarim Shel Acherim. Going Shua she'etein leish ploni, Shua that I will give to so and so. Shua u'shloi etein, or I won't give. Shenasati I gave. U'shloi nasati, again. Shua shnaim shein arba. Lahara lahativ, future or past, if you hold like Rabbi Akiva, and therefore what it would be, you will give to somebody, you won't give to somebody. I gave, I didn't give. She'ishan, I'll sleep. Now this is the mamashos, guys. This is the second example. The first one was of acherim, and now it's mamashos. So eshin, I will sleep. Ushlo eshin, I won't sleep. She'yashanti, I did sleep. Ushlo yashanti. Again, we're explaining the four ways of the shua. She'ezrek tzra layam, I will throw his a stone into the sea. Ushlo yezrak, I won't. Ushezarakti, I threw. Ushlo yezarakti. Okay, that's the Mishnah. So echad dvarim shel atzmai, echad dvarim shel acherim, depending upon other people. Echad dvarim shel mamoshes, sheino, or throwing a stone. No hano whatsoever, whether it's future tense or past tense. It would go ahead and be b'chal shvua. It's biti, and you're being chayiv an oil v'yored for that, right? It will be b'chay shvuas bitui, and you'll be chayiv about this is an oil v'yored. You'll be chayiv an oil v'yored. Rabbi Shmuel Loimar, as we're all familiar with from the first blot in the Masechta, the first sugya, ein chayiv ala asid lavoi. You're only chayiv on the future. In other words, you don't have shnaim shenal by any shvua of the past, like Rabbi Shmuel, you're not going to be chayiv on. Shenemar lahara or lahativ, which means to do good, which means to do bad, not to eat, or to eat, but that's future. According to you, if you saw medayik in lahara lahativ, ainly ella dvarim sheyesh ben harava tava. It would only be something that has good and bad associated with it. Dvarim sheyesh ben harava tava minayin, even though it's future, having something that's not necessarily good or bad. If you're going to be so makbid Rabbi Shmuel in the lashon of the Torah that says lahara lahativ, and saying therefore you won't be chayiv in a past tense because lahara lahativ is future, limit the shvur to something that's good or bad and not something else. So Amaloi, so Rabbi Shmuel retorts to Rabbi Akiva, ribuya kosev. I have a ribuy in the kosev to include what? We'll get to that the limud probably tomorrow. So kalu prat ribuy miut. The Torah is marba more than lahara lahativ. It's not lav. It's marba lav dafka lahara lahativ, but it is limited to future. It is limited to future. So Amaloi, Rabbi Akiva retorts to Rabbi Yishmael in riba kosev lakach. Once you're going ahead and saying that what you're not limited to the future, tell me also you're not limited to lahara lahativ. Don't tell me you're limited to the future. And guys, the Gemara, Rabbi Akiva is going to dash in a ribu miyut rather than kalu prat. Good. Okay. So the Mishnah had said, whether it's yourself, whether it's the Devarim Shel Acherim, or whether it's what Devarim Shema Mamish. Tanabanan Chayma ben Nedarim min Shevuous. So you're describing, the Mishnah is describing the components of Shvuah. So the Gemara is going to go ahead and elaborate. A chumrah that Nedarim has over Shevuous, and Chayim b'Shevuous ben Nedarim, and this chumrah that Nedarim have over Shevuous. Chayim ben Nedarim, shen Nedarim chalim al davar mitzvah k'davar rishus. A neder will be chalim davar mitzvah. Rashi says, koinim sukkah shani oisa. This sukkah should be asa to me like a korban. Lulav shani noitel asa. And in Medarim Farish time Perikilim Mutarim. Mashen came b'Shevuous. If you make a shvua not to sit in the sukkah, you must be the Sinai to sit in the sukkah. If you make a shvua not to take a lulav, you must to take a lulav. Guys, what's the chilik? The chilik is pashit. But you go ahead and say that this sukkah is also to me, or this lulav is also to me. You're not going ahead and say there's no such thing as the mitzvah of sukkah. You're not saying there's no such thing as the mitzvah of lulav. You're saying that is also to me. It's an issa chefza. That's a neder. It's also the object itself. By you saying that you can't sit in a sukkah, well, that's not true because you mushbah Sinai to sit in a sukkah. Good, that's the difference between the two. One's in a sechefza and one's in a segarva. Chayim b'Shvuos. What's the chumrah of Shvuos of Nedarim? Shashvuos chalos al davar she'ein b'mamish. It'll be chal on I won't sleep. Kedavar she'esh b'mamish. U'mashen came b'Nedarim, Nedarim not. And this is the reason why he brought it in. This is the second aspect. When it said that shua is going to be chal on something that ain't b'mamish, that's what we said in the Mishnah, right? You can make a shua not to sleep. Right? Ketzad Amar shua she'atein leploini u'shlo yatein. You make a shua that I will give to somebody. I will give to somebody, or I won't give to somebody. Or I gave to somebody. I didn't give to somebody. Ma yatein. What are you talking about? What are you giving? If you say I assure that I'll give to an ani, that's great. What about assure not to give to an ani? Not so good. Mush Sinai to give tzedakah. Shenemar titin lo. So that obviously was speaking about giving. If you're speaking about a devar mitzvah, you got a problem. Why? Because again, over here it's you're being mushbah Sinai because again, a shua has to be give and not give. So you have to again it has to be hein v'lav, right? It has to be both sides, yes and no. So says the Gemara, elu matana l'asher. Speaking of matana to an asher, you make a shua. You can make a shua l'gabi gacherim. I know it's not me. I will give to another, or I won't give to another, and that shua would be chal. Mishnah then gave an example of a shua that does not have mamashes. He gave an example of a shua that has mamashes, and the shua was what? I'll sleep or I won't sleep, or I slept, I didn't sleep. Is it really so that you can make such a shvua? V'am Rabbi Yochanan, I'm a shvua shlei eshan gimel yamim, of a shvua that I won't sleep for 3 days. Malkin I say immediately, because it's not possible for a person to go 3 days without sleep. It's not possible. So you'll give him a shvua. Rashi says why? Mishum shvua shav, not al spitui. Al shvua shav. The davar she'yefshahu. It's not possible to go 3 days without sleeping. U'mishen nishba yatzil sheker. And as soon as he swore, the words come out the sheker. Almolav shuas bita who the Ketaniv Yoshan altar. Okay, guys, we said it's not shuas bita because say go ahead, Malkan I said Yoshan altar. Shuas bita would be what? When you don't keep your word, guys. We should know that by now. The whole shua of bita is where you mavata and you don't keep your words. You swear not to eat, you do eat. You swear to eat and you don't eat. Right? That's a shuas bita. That's a shuas bita. And this over here, we said. As soon as he says a shvur that I won't sleep for 3 days, you give him malchus immediately, and for yoshan la'alter, and let him sleep. So what do you see for yoshan la'alter? You don't even give him a chance. You don't give him a chance because why? It's not possible. So how can you say that a shvur would be chal on something shebay mamish when you see a person makes a shvur that not to sleep for 3 days that he's chayiv? Says Gemara Hasam over there kida Amar Gimel. There he said Gimel hachad lo yama Gimel, right? Yeah, pretty much. What was the Gemara's kasha, guy? In other words, you make a shvua not to sleep, so you mean not to sleep the normal amount what a normal person would sleep. The normal amount what a normal person would sleep. That right? Okay. Okay. So therefore, Masha'en Kain, if you don't say 3 days, then it is a shvua, and you would have a chance to be mavata the shvua or shvua spitui. Okay, until now the Gemara has gone very glatt. Now we get some hard Gemara. Yeah, now. Okay. Shvua she'ezreik tzor layam u'sheloi ezreik. A shvua that what? That I will throw a stone into the sea, or I won't throw a stone into the sea. Okay, now that was a shua shem b'mamish. Can we make a hybrid now? Make a sure that somebody will throw a stone into the sea? So before, guys, a little eye contact as a little hakdama to the sugya. You know all the components. We're just going to put it together. You know that a shvua can be, for sure, everyone agrees, futuristic. That's the way it should be. Lahara or lahativ. Lahara lahativ is another way of saying hein v'lav. Yes and no. Yes, I will eat. No, I won't eat. In other words, so the Gemara is going to use the lashon hein v'lav. It can be synonymous with what? With lahara lahativ. In addition, there's past and future. According to Rabbi Akiva, there's no difference. Just like there's a shuas bitoy on something that you will do, there's a shuas bitoy on something that you claim you have done. According to Rabbi Yishmael, you do not have that option. According to Rabbi Yishmael, you don't have that option. Now, be aware, like Rabbi Yishmael, when he says you're not chayiv on shavar, you know what he means? He means you won't be a carbon oil v'yored. Again, the whole parsha of Shavuos Bitoy Lahora Lehetiv is in Vayikra Hey, right? We had Vayikra Hey, we had Shavuos Eidis, we had Shavuos Bitoy, and we had Tumas Mikdash HaKadosh, which we know very well. So that's the parsha of Mad of Oil V'yored, the unique carbon that depending upon your financial status. Be aware, even though Rabbi Shmuel says you would not be chayiv for what for an Oil V'yored, because he says Lahora Lehetiv only means future and not past. He would agree, Shavuos past you would be chayiv what. You chayiv malchus. You would be chayiv malchus. So be aware. So we're going to have a hybrid case now. We had two cases in the Mishnah: a shvua for some other people, and then a shvua of ein b'mamish. So the shvua is ein b'mamish. It's throwing a stone. Can you make a shvua that another person could throw a stone? Well, it's machlokes. Yep, it's machlokes, as we're going to see. So with that in mind, let's begin. Itmar. Shvua shezorak ploini tzror layom. I make a shvua that so and so threw a stone into the sea. Okay. Ushaloi zarak, or he didn't throw. So this is a past tense shvua on somebody else. Rav amachayev. Rav says yechayev. Ushmul amapater. And Shmuel says you'll be pater. Rav says you'll be chayev a carbon oil of yoyred. It's a shuas bitoy. And Shmuel says you would be what? You would be pater. Rav machayev. You know why? Isya belav vehen. You have it yet? Yes and no. You threw it or you didn't throw it, but you don't have it future. Guys, could you make a shvua that so and so will throw a stone in? Mendy said no, and he's right. In other words, according to Rav, you don't need to go ahead and have every aspect fulfilled. Again, to fulfill, guys, eye contact. To fulfill every aspect, you'd have to have hein lav, future, past, right? Mm-hmm. Future, past. Everything would have to be fulfilled. Good? So now, if you make a shvua that this person threw a stone into the sea, okay, that's a classic. If like Rabbi Akiva, that's a classic past tense. Or he didn't throw into the sea. That's a classic past tense. Could you make a shvua that he won't throw? You don't know what he's going to do. You can make a shvua what he will do. You know what he's going to do. So even though it's not possible in future, because you don't know, nonetheless, Rav says yechayev. Because since it's possible, yes and no, it's enough. And Shmuel says no. Says Shmuel, apata lesa b'lahaba. Since it's not possible, what in the future? Since it's not possible in the future. Now we have a machlokes between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Yishmael. Like Rabbi Akiva, yechayev for sai what future, sai past. Like Rabbi Yishmael, you only chayev for future. Good. Lema beplukta Rabbi Yishmael, Rabbi Akiva kamifliki. Let's suggest the machlokes between Rav and Shmuel is the machlokes Tanoim, right? That nan Rabbi Shmuel loima ein chayev ela ala asad lavai shenemar lahara lahetiv. Amalei Rabbi Akiva im kain ein lo yela devarim sheish b'marova hatava devarim shein b'marova hatava minayin Amaloi min ribia kosiv. Amaloi in ribia kosiv. A Mishnah says lekach ribia kosiv lekach leinian past tense. Rav de Omar kirebi Akiva. Rav would hold like what? Like Rabbi Akiva. Tells that what? That it's chal b'sha'avar. Again, right now we're not saying Rabbi Akiva would need all different components, past and. He just says one thing. Rabbi Akiva, we know, is marba from lav dafka lahar lahativ, but even rat nasati, even past tense. So Rav, who says that you made a neder that this person threw a rock into the sea or did not throw a rock into the sea, since he holds the shvur l'sha'avar works, memela he would hold yichayev. Guys, one more time. We know clearly Rabbi Akiva says a shvur sha'avar you be chayev on. Do we know that Rabbi Akiva needs the future or not? Maybe, but we're not sure. In other words, we do know one thing, that he holds Yechayev for a past tense shvua. The shvua that's being made over here only works in the past tense. Why? Because you don't know what he's going to do in the future. But you knew whether he threw it or didn't throw it. Masha'en Kain Shmuel, he says that no, since you don't know what's going to be in the future, you can't make such a shvua. Who does that sound like? Rabbi Yishmael, who says you only chayiv lahara lahativ. So apparently on the surface, the machlokes Rav and Shmuel is the machlokes of Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Yishmael. That Rav holds like what? Like Rabbi Akiva, and Shmuel holds like Rabbi Yishmael. Rav Domak Rabbi Akiva, Shmuel Domak Rabbi Yishmael. Guys, good? Now, I'll leave it to Rabbi Akiva, Kuli Amalei Pligi. There's no way in the world that what? Rav can come out according to Rabbi Yishmael, right? There's no way Rav can. Rav clearly holds fellas that what? Past works. Therefore, he can't be like, because he holds Yechayev for past tense throwing it in. He can't call like Rabbi Shmuel. Again, I always tell you this Gemara, this is a style, fellas. The style is, when you want to say it's a machlokes Tanoim, and it doesn't work out, we'll do one of two things. The Gemara will say, no, they both could work out, or the Gemara will show you that at least one works out. Again, an Amoira never wants to argue on a Tana. But we're stuck over here. There's no way in the world that Rav can hold like Rabbi Shmuel, because Rav said a past tense shvur works. A shvur that you threw, that this guy threw it into the sea. Rabbi Shmuel says that doesn't work. Good? Now, so I'll leave there Shmuel Kuli Amalei Pligi. Hashta milsa the isya halaba loy mechayev Allah Rabbi Shmuel l'sha'avar. Something that could be in the future. A shvur that could be in the future, guys. A regular shvur that could be in the future. You eat, you won't eat. Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Yishmael would hold, I ate, I didn't eat, doesn't work. Milsa the lesser bilahaba, a milsa that you don't have bilahaba, so and so throwing it into the ocean where you don't know, me boy. Guys, there's no way in the world Rav can come like Rabbi Shmuel. Why? Why? Look at me. Why? Because Rabbi Shmuel holds, even when it's possible for the future to work, I will eat, I won't eat. He says, you can't make a shvur I ate or I didn't eat. So certainly over here, where you can't make the futuristic shvur, you can't say what? He threw it or he didn't throw it. He will throw it. Certainly, it won't work in the past. And the Mela, therefore, there's no way that Rav can hold like Rabbi Shmuel. Ki pligi, where's the machlokes Rav and Shmuel? I'll leave it to Rabbi Akiva. Rav Rabbi Akiva, that a past tense shvur works. Shmuel Amar, Ad Kalam Mechayev Rabbi Akiva Hasam L'Shavar El Milsa De Isiv El Abba Mechayev Rabbi Akiva L'Shavar Avamidi D'Lesa Bava Loi. Guys, there's a big difference. Again, the assumption we made that I spoke out, the assumption I made was that Rabbi Akiva would hold anything works as long, if it's a past shvur, it works. You can't make it in the future, doesn't matter. That's in the Havamina. But in the Teretz, in the Teretz, you could say, Shmuel says, no, 1 second. I could look Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva would agree with me. Rabbi Akiva would say, this shvur doesn't work. I can be in the past. We know when the past works, when the future works. But over here, since the future doesn't work, because you don't know what the guy's going to do, says Shmuel, I can look Rabbi Akiva. So Shmuel has safe face. Shmuel has safe face, right? Shmuel can hold like Rabbi Shmuel and like Rabbi Akiva. The Gemara now will suggest that the machlokes Rav and Shmuel is a machlokes between other Tanoim, not Rabbi Akiva, not Rabbi Shmuel, but the Chachamim and Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, who we will meet later on in the Masechta. It's very interesting, guys. A lot of Shevuous, when you get quotes, the Gemara quotes over here are Mishnayos later on. So therefore, any work we do now will make it easier a little later on because we're all going to remember it, no problem, right? Lema beplukta the Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseir Rabbanan. Let's say the machloikis between Rav and Shmuel is the machloikis between Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseir and the Rabbanan. Okay. Says Rashi, who is Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseir? Let's make it easier. Anishba l'kayim es mitzvah polig. V'lo anishba shaloi l'kayim. Can you make a shvuah to mekayim a mitzvah? It's machlokes. You can't make a shvuah not to mekayim a mitzvah, but could you make a shvuah to fulfill the mitzvah? Says the Chachamim, no. Says Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseir, yes. Good. Says the Gemara, that none. Nishba levatel es a mitzvah. If you made a shvuah to mevatel a mitzvah v'loi bittul and you weren't mevatel it, potter. L'kayim is a mitzvah. You made a shvuah to mekayim a mitzvah v'loi kiyim and you weren't mekayim it. You potter. Right? You potter. Well, I didn't keep the shvuah. Shahaya bedin, because the din should be that you should be over on the shvuah. Sheyechayev kidir Rabbi Yehuda Meseira. Dam Rabbi Yehuda Meseira. Uma imarishus sheina mushba lecha me'ar Sinai. Hayu chayev aleha. A dvar rishus that he said he's going to do, and he wasn't mushba from Me'ar Sinai to do it. Nonetheless, if he doesn't do it, he's chayev. Mitzvah shemushba lecha me'ar Sinai. Ein din sheyechayev aleha. A mitzvah that you are mushba me'ar Sinai. Ein din you should be chayev on it. So, like Rabbi Yehuda Meseira, guys, you could make a shvuah to mekayim a mitzvah. That's the dialogue. Amrulai, they told Rabbi Yehuda Meseira, lo yimam b'shvuah rishush shekein asa ba lav kehein. Right? You have yes and no, guys. Dvar rishus. I can go to the Marine Park. I can't go to Marine Park. Good. A dvar mitzvah. I can't eat matzah. I can't eat matzah. You can't have a lav. In other words, fellas, lahara lahativ has to be yes and no. They want to tie in a light. You, Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseira, you don't have a no. What are you going to do? You could eat, you can't eat. There's no can't. You got to do it. So Memela, in order to fulfill all the components of Shvuah, you have to have the ability to say no. Like Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseira, it doesn't exist. Name a Rav Damak Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseira. Let's say Rav, right, who holds like Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseira. Just like Rabbi Yehuda says, you don't need a lav. Rav says, you don't need laba. Guys, outside. What did Rav say? A person makes a shvuah that this person threw something in the sea. Yechayev, shvuah spitui. Yeah? You can't make a shvuah that he will throw something in the sea. So the assumption is, like Rav, you don't need all four components. You don't need everything. Let's say Rav would hold like Rabbi Yehuda Meseira, because Rabbi Yehuda Meseira also does. He's saying that you could make a shvuah in Mekayim a mitzvah. It's not possible that you can't be Mekayim the mitzvah. So you see like Rabbi Yehuda Meseira, you don't need all the components. So let's say Rav, you don't need all the components. Hold like Rabbi Yehuda Meseira, Geschmack Tushtel. Ushmul Damak Rabbanon. And Shmuel said, no, it's potter. You know why? Because you need all the components. And since it's not shaykh lahaba, what the guy's going to do, it's not shaykh. Okay. Now, I'll leave it to Rabbi Yehuda Meseira kuliyam le pligi. You're right. There's no way that Shmuel can come out like Rabbi Yehuda Meseira. Guys, this is classic. Rav could. Shmuel cannot be like Rabbi Yehuda Meseira, because according to Shmuel, just like lahaba, you would need lav also. Lavehein loy boy, labo why? Hashta kuliyam le pligi. Hashta lavehein loy boy, lahabo l'shava boy. Guys, lavehein is lahara lahativ. That's written in the Torah. Guys. Yes and no is good or bad. That's written in the Torah. And nonetheless, Rabbi Yehuda Meseira says you don't need lav, correct? So certainly you will say you don't need lahaba, which is not written in the Torah. That's learned from a limud. Again, lahara lahativ, to good or bad, right? It says in the Torah, whether it's past or present, right, is not in the Torah. That's a limud. Rabbi Akiva has such a limud. Rabbi Shmuel doesn't have such a limud. Hein v'lav is the same thing as what? As lahara lahativ. If Rabbi Yehuda Meseira says you don't need the lav, he's saying what's written in the Torah is not exact. Memela, what's not written in the Torah, certainly you don't need. So Memela says the Gemara, there's no way that Rav can hold like Shmuel can hold like a Yehuda Meseira. Let's see it again. I'll leave the Rabbi Yehuda Meseira Kuliyam Le Pligi that Shmuel cannot hold like Rabbi Yehuda Meseira. Hashta La Vehein, which is the same as Lahara Lehetiv. Loi Boy Lahaba Ulishavar Boy Laba Ulishavar La Vehein Loi Boy Lahaba Ulishavar Boy. But you need what? 1 second. Hashta La Vehein Loi Boy Lahaba Ulishavar Boy. But you don't need Hashta La Vehein Loi Boy Lahaba Ulishavar Boy. You can see Lashon Tema. Madach that's written in the Torah he doesn't need. Boy, would he need it? So obviously not. So ki pligi, I'll leave it to Rabbi Shmuel. I'll leave it to Rabbanan, comma. Shmuel Kirabanan. Shmuel is like a banan that you need all 4 components. Rav kilai mechayev Rabbanan b'lavehein dichsev lahara lehetiv behedya. In other words, Rav can hold that what? When does Yehuda when the Rabbanon what they would be mechayiv lavehein, but not necessarily what lahaba outside. Rav said you don't need lahaba. You want to say that Rav would disagree with the Rabbanon, who says l'chayri you need lahaba. He says no, you need lavehein. Because that's in the Torah, but you would not need necessarily haba like the Chachamim. Therefore, I can hold like the Chachamim as well. I'm not limited to say I hold like Rabbi Yehuda Meseira. Needless to say, we didn't in the first lashon Shmuel can come out according to Rabbi Akiva, and the second lashon Rav can hold like the Rabbanon and not like Rabbi Yehuda Meseira. Okay, it gets a little easier now. Maybe. Masa Rav Hamnuna. Lo yachalti hayoim. Past tense. The guy says the following: no shvua. He says, I didn't eat today. I didn't put on tefillin today. And another fine fellow says, Mishbiachani. No, swear to that. For Ama Amen. And he says, what? Amen. Chayiv. You be chayiv man and I love you. Now Bishleim Eloy Achalti Isya Beloy Eichel. Achalti, I ate, right? Or I didn't eat. It's futuristic. To say I didn't put on tefillin, it's in the past. But mi isya beloy niach. Guys, what's the future of the future of I didn't put on tefillin today? What's the future? I won't put on tefillin today. Can't say that. So l'chayra, Amnun is asking, right? He's asking on Shmuel, right? Shmuel, you say that what? Guys, Shmuel, you say you need all the components to mechayiv oil of yored. Does it say Yechayiv over here? Yes. Can you possibly have in the future? No. It's Rav Shita. Guys, this is Rav Shita. Again, you make a shvua that I didn't put on tefillin today. Is it possible in the future to make a shvua that you won't put on tefillin today? No. Yet it says Chayiv. It's a brisa. The Masav Rav Nun on Shmuel. Shmuel, you say you need future? You don't need future. Look, you don't need future. So therefore, if a guy makes a sure that this guy is going to throw the stone into the sea, it's not in the future. You don't know what he's going to do. I don't care. As long as what my sure is in the past, it works. That's a raya to Rav and Akash on Shmuel. One more time. It's futuristic. That I won't put on tefillin. So who Ma'asav Lo? Rav Hamnuna asked the question. Who Mefarik Lo? Rav Hamnuna answered the question. Let's start in Ketani. Don't learn, guys, achila and I ate, and don't learn I didn't eat or I didn't put on tefillin. Don't learn them in the same breath. They're not the same. Lo yachalti lekarbin, lo hinachti lemalkis, geschmack. Guys, I began to share with what? What's Rabbi Shmuel? That what? Even though Rabbi Shmuel holds past tense, you won't be chayiv el v'yored. You will be chayiv for what? For not keeping your word, right? You'll be chayiv malkis. So here's the way you read the brisa, guys. Watch. Masav Amnuna lo yachalti ayoim, lo yinachti tefillin ayoim, mashbiachani v'ama amein chayiv. You be chayiv what? You be chayiv for lo yinachti for lo yachalti. You be chayiv a carbon, and here's the studin. But regarding tefillin, you be chayiv malchus. But in achnami not a carbon. So therefore, that's the way Rav Hamnuna would answer Shmuel. Again. The chayiv is litstadim. Litstadim means you're not being chayiv for the same thing. Litstadim, you're not being chayiv for the same. No, I'm missing it again. No. Okay. Lo yachalti l'karban, lo yanachti l'malchus. Masav Rava. Says Rabbi, Ezi he Shevuous shav. What's a Shevuous shav? Now, Shevuous shav, guys, you're chayiv malchus, but you're not chayiv an olav yared. Olav yared is for Shevuous bitui, levatabas vasayim. Ezi Shevuous shav. Nishba l'shana says how you do la'adam. You swear to go ahead and say something that's known to man. For example, v'amar al omid shel even shu shel zahav. You say that this pillar of stone is gold. V'amar ula v'hu shenikar l'gimel b'nei adam. It's recognizable by three people that were out there it was stone. Time of the nikar. The reason why Yechayiv is because it's recognizable. Hoyloi nikar, oiva mishum shvuas bitoy. But in other words, that's why it's a shvuas shav. Guys, the reason why it's a shvuas shav is because it's unrecognizable. But if three people if three people who didn't recognize it, then it's a shvuas bitoy. It can't be future, guys. What are you saying? You're saying it's gold. It's stone. It will be gold. It won't be gold. You know, l'chayr is Kashan Shmuel. So who ma'asav lo m'farak lo Rabbi asked and Rabbi answered it. Nika oiva mishum shvuas shav, lo nika oiva mishum shvuas sheker. Don't think that you're over shvuas bitoy. You be over shvuas sheker, guys. That's not oil v'yored. Again, in the first terrace is the distinction between carbon and malchus. In the second terrace is your assumption was it's either shav or bitoy. No, it's shav or sheker, but it's not what. It's not. It's not Shevuous bitoy. It's not Shevuous bitoy. Okay. Now, in the parsha, guys, of Olav Yored, the first thing is called Shevuous Eidus. Someone declares that you know Eidus, you swear you don't, and then you admit that you do. You chayiv to being an Olav Yored. That's called Shevuous Eidus. You swear that you don't know Eidus, guys. Right. That's the first one. So now, Umoida Rav. And Rav is Moida, even though Rav does not need past tense, right? He does need yes and no. Good? Umoida Rav, Shvua Shani Yodea Lecha Edis, a Shvua that I know for you Edis, Vishtakech the Lo Yodale, and it comes out that you don't know Edis, the Patel. Hoyel Velesa Bechal Shein Yodea Lecha Edis. Right. Well, let's see Rashi, guys. Long Rashi. Umoida Rav. The Alpha Gavlei Boy Lahaba Ulishavar, even though Rav does not need past tense or future tense, right? Lav Vehain Boy. He does need Lav Vehain. Well, you swear that you do know Edis. Hein Mishkachas Ba. You do find the Hein. Yes, I do know. Lav Loy Mishkachas Ba. Because, guys, if you say, I don't know Edis, guys, it's not a Shevuous bitoy. It's Shevuous Eidus. It is, guys. Guy says to you, make a shvua that what? That I know Eidus. You could swear you know Eidus. What's the lav? A shvua that I don't know Eidus. If you make a shvua you don't know Eidus, guys, that's not the parsha of what? Of Shevuous bitoy. That's the parsha of Shevuous Eidus. Again, there are three distinct parshiyos there. There's Shevuous Eidus, there's Shevuous bitoy, there's Tumas Mikdash Kadashav. If you say you don't know, you're not in the bitoy parsha, you're in the Shevuous Eidus parsha, which is a little shver. What's the difference then between Shevuous Eidus and Shevuous bitoy? The Gemara is going to tell us on that in a second. Yeah. So in other words, says look at the Gemara now. A shvua that what I know Eidus for you. V'shtakech the lo yada, the potter you potter for mat a Shevuous bitoy. Hoyel v'lesa b'chal shani yirei lecha Eidus. Since you can't say that what I don't know Eidus, right? Why don't you know Eidus? Because that's Shevuous Eidus. Back in the Gemara. Let's see back in the Gemara. Back in Rashi, guys. Lo mishkachas, but the lesser be'eni yodei lecha. The eni yodei lecha Eidus lav mishum Shevuous bitoy chayv v'rachmana l'srayba chutz lebezdin. Now, as Rashi says, guys. You can ask a kasha. Maybe Bendy is about to ask it now. What's the difference? What you mechayiv me? If you chayiv Shevuous Olav Yored either way, what's the difference? Oh, is that what you're going to ask? Say yes. Good. Now says Rashi, guys. What? Look at Rashi. chutz lebezdin. Shevuous edis would be only in bezdin, not chutz lebezdin. Elam mishum shevuous edis ve'ena elam bebezdin uberoy leheyit. Fellas, you're a Masachi Pekov, you're a professional gambler. That's what you do for a living. You spend your day on DraftKings and FanDuel. You're busy with this Yom V'Layla. Good? Are you Pasleidis? Yes. You're not being Isip Yeshua Shalom, you're Pasleidis. If you make a Shuas Bitoy, would you be Chayiv Noil V'Yored? Sure. Why does your Psula Edis have to do with your lying about a Shuas Bitoy? Nothing. Huh. What happens if a guy says to you, swear that you don't know Edis to me? You won't be chayiv shuas edis because you're not kosher edis in the first place. So you have an afkamina between the two. Even though you be chayiv in oil v'yored, saifa bitoy and saifa shuas edis, there's an afkamina a in bezdin. Shuas edis is only in bezdin. And sveitens whether the person is what in the ballpark of going ahead and being chayiv shvu or not. In other words, according to this, he won't be in the ballpark at all. As I read the Gemara. So back in the Gemara now. You'll be part from my Levi. And you have to say it's outside of Bezdin. And you have to say it's kosher edis. How about yodati v'lo yodati? I knew or I didn't know, right? That's a machlokes because it's not possible in Nabah. I don't know. I will know edis about you. The same as saying what? Plenty with something in the guys. Guys, I know Yadati, I know, I don't know. I will know. Can you make a shvua, I will know Edis? The same way you can make a shvua what? You're going to throw something in the sea. So the same achloikus that was Rav and Shmuel had by throwing something into the sea, they'll have by Yadati, v'lo Yadati. Like Rav will be chayiv, like Shmuel won't be kishmak. Says the Gemara again, what nachamo? Yadati v'lo Yadati, right? Yadati v'lo yadati machlokes. That's the machlokes Rav and Shmuel because you can't say I will know edis. Ha'adati I said edis v'lo yadati or I didn't say edis. I can't say if I will know edis in the future. I can't testify that. I won't know, right? I won't know. I can't say that if I know edis I won't testify because that would be what nishba levatlas mitzvah guys. Guys, watch ha'adati. I said edis v'lo yadati. I didn't say edis. Now that's a machlokes. That would be what a machlokes. Why? Because you can't say in futuristic that I can't say that if I know edis, guys. I know edis, I won't testify. That you must be seen to testify. So that would be machlokes according to Rav. Even though you can't say it lahaba, you will be okay. Shmuel not. Shmuel the Amar Milsa the Lesa Bahaba Lemechayv Lelishavar Lachi Afrik Rachman Lishuas Edis Mechal Shuas Pitui. Guys, Shuas Edis, right? I need to tell me a parsha because what you would be chayev for even if it's not lehaba, even if it's not lahaba. Mashenkin Shuas Bitoy only has to be. You have to fill in all the blanks. El Rav Lamai Hilchasa Afker Rachmana, right? According to Rav, that you don't fill in all the blanks. Why does the Torah go ahead and have two separate parshiyos? According to Rav, why does it's the same thing? El Rav Lamai Hilchasa Afker Rachmana. Amru Rabban Kamei Abaya, and Abaya said l'chiyur l'tarti. Mechayev two things: Shevuous Biti and Shevuous Edis. Amalahu they told Abaya. Amalahu Nachama. Amru Rabban Kamei Abaya. The Rabbanan said to Abaya l'chiyur l'tarti. Mechayev two things. Amalahu. So Abaya told them tarti lo matzisa amrisa. You can't say that. The Tanya. What does the Torah say? Let me just get the psukim. What does the Torah say? It says, "Nishba levato sasayim lahor lahetim b'chali v'shem adam v'shem adam huyodo Hashem la'achas me'ela." It says the lashon la'achas, so you can't say yichayiv twice. So Abaye says you can't say yichayiv twice. So why? Since it says la'achas at the mechayiv, you only chayiv once. You have to mechayiv shnayim. So like Rav, why do you have to write a separate parsha? It says ulabaya l'may hilchasa afke rachmana, right? Why like Abaye therefore? So Taka, what's the chilik? If you don't have, why did they, according to Rav, write two parshiyos? The Chiditanya, like the following, like Kulon Nemar, Bikulon, in Bikulon Nemar, everything that's written in the Parsha of Oil V'Yared, Shevuous Bitui, Tumas Migdash Kadashav, right, or eating carbon mituma, Nema Behem, it says V'Nelam, that you had halama. Remember, guys, we spoke uniquely Oil V'Yared, you needed halama before and then. You had it V'Nelam, L'chayv Alam, right, V'Kan, L'Nema L'Nela, by Shevuous Eidus it doesn't say. So guys, Lahor Lahete, by in the parsha of Shevuous Bitoy, it says Menelam. In the parsha of Tumas Mikdash Kedasav, it says Menelam. Shevuous Eidus, it doesn't say Menelam. Now, why not? Right? So V'kan by Shevuous Eidus Leinemer Menelam L'chayev Ala Mezid Kishoygeg. Oh, you hear? Shevuous Bitoy L'chayev, you're not going to be Chay Mezid Kishoygeg, meaning you're Chayev Menel V'Yored. Amr Ban Labaya. Aim of Mezid V'chayev Chada. Maybe Mezid you be chayiv once, and B'shoygeg mechayiv tarti. So you hear the chiddush Shevuous Eidus, guys. You're being a carbon of oil on a Mezid. Mezid, yeah, right. It's a chiddush. Okay, so maybe it's mechayiv twice. Amalahu lav hainu da amre laachas achas at mechayiv at mechayiv shtayim. I told you mechayiv once, you're not chayiv twice. Viva Mezid miyik tarti. Right? Is there two if you did Mezid? So therefore, that's the difference between, according to Abaya, the difference between is achas, you can only be chayiv once, and for Shevuous Eidus, and you can be chayiv mezid, you won't be chayiv twice. Rava says, Mishum dahavli dava shebechlal, v'yotza lidan b'dava achadash. Okay, what does that mean? Says Rashi. Rava Amar. First white line. I don't need by Shvuot to be ma'achas to tell me that you're not chayiv twice. It doesn't come for edus and bitui. The achas is only going on Shevuous bitui. If you made a shvua that you won't eat, the achol paschitin pasorim paskusmin in chayiv la'achas. Aval edis ubitoy leitzarach miyuta. The havle edis davashay bechlal bitoy. Edis was in the ballpark of bitoy. It was you're making a shvur that you don't know. The yotzim from the atzmoy, and it goes out by itself. Lead him bedava chadash beruuyin laheyed ubebezdin. Guys, you know why it was taken out of the parsha? To teach me two halachas. By Shevuous bitoy, look at me. You don't need bezdin. By Shevuous bitoy, you don't need kashal edis. By Shevuous Eidus, you know why it's taken out of the parsha? To teach me a new din. Regarding Shevuous Eidus, you need two things. It has to be in Bezdin, and it has to be a person kashal Eidus. So here's the way you read it. You want to know why it's taken out? It says Rava Amar. It says Rava Geshmak back in the Gemara. Rava Amar Mishum Davi Dava Shebechlal. Shevuous Eidus was Bechal Shevuous Bitoy. Again, by Shevuous Eidus, you're not keeping your word. Guys, you're being Mavatis Vasayim. You're stumbling on your words. The Yatzon Lidon Bedava Chadash. It's to teach me that you're being judged on something dava chadash. What's the dava chadash? Bezdin and edus. Ein lecha ba el achidush bilvad. Okay. Nechal da Abaya sava is l'shua ba'olam. Rashi. Nechal da Abaya the itzrich krolam meute sava is l'shua ba'olam. Klaimar isa l'shem shuas bitoy be'eni yodea lecha edus. Right. That right. Okay. Very good. Shema good. We need 10. Stay. We need 10. Don't leave. Please don't leave. He needs a kaddish.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks. Okay. Each of the Shem Shuas Bita Beini Adei Lechaydis V'Haidle Mechayiv Tarti Mishum Miyuta. That's the Minach Chayiv is because the Miyut ain't at the Mechayiv Shtayimhu. V'Nafkamina. What's nafkamina between a Abaye and Rava? Heicha the Isya LeBitoy V'Lesa LeEdis Kigain the Psulam LeEdis. Let's say the person is Pasul LeEdis the B'Sakli B'Kuvya. Oishal Bebezdin. The lekal miftri will achas mechayim b'shem bito. You be chayim. Okay. V'amar Abaye moed the Rav boim lechaber shuash ani yod lecha edis. V'shtachet lo yod le the pot the hoyav lesa b'ni yodei lecha edis. So we have a kasha. L'chayra Abaye says you wanted to say Abaye says you be chayiv. V'amar Abaye boim lechaber shuash ani yod lecha edis v'shtakach. You find the lo yod the pot. Later Abaye you should be chayiv. On that, the Gemara says, "How do we Abaye me'ahir? Abaye at charata. Be by his ema and other terets. Chadimi nayu One of the two memes was not Abaye, but it was Rav Papa. So once it was Rav Papa, it wasn't Abaye, you don't have a steering in Eubei. Can I make a kasha? The Fikach here in Shnemar. I'd make a face the man said.